If someone you love has passed away and their home isn't in a trust, you're about to face one of the most stressful legal processes a family can go through: probate. Probate can freeze the property, delay your ability to make decisions, it can create conflict between siblings, and it can cost your family months or even years you didn't expect to lose. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, unsure where to begin, and afraid of making a mistake that could cost tens of thousands of dollars, you're not alone. I work with families in Ventura County and LA County, and they all say the same thing: I just wish someone explained this earlier. So that's what we're doing today. I'm going to walk you through probate in a way that finally makes sense, step by step, without the stress or confusion. Let's start simple. What is probate really, and why does it exist? Probate is the legal process the court uses to verify a person's will, identify the heirs, inventory any assets, they pay the debts and taxes, and transfer ownership of property if someone passes away with no trust. Probate is almost always required. And even if they had a will, you can still end up in probate. A will by itself does not skip probate. A trust can, and we'll talk about that in another video at another time. But for now, just know this: if someone you love didn't have a trust, what you're dealing with is completely normal. Quick note, before we go further, I'm not an attorney. This isn't legal advice, but I work alongside probate attorneys, and this is how it usually plays out with inherited homes here in California. In a state like California, where home values are high and the property is often the biggest asset in the estate, probate has an even bigger impact on families, financially and emotionally. Now, let's talk about something that catches almost every family off guard, which is the timeline. Probate in California usually takes about 9 to 18 months, and that's if everything goes fairly smoothly. I've personally seen estates take even longer because of simple things like missing documents, family disagreements, court backlogs, out-of-state heirs, creditors making expected claims, or a property needing work before it can be sold. If you thought you were going to clean out the house and put it on the market next week, in most cases the court simply won't allow that yet. To understand what you're dealing with, you first need to know which category your loved one estate falls into. There are 3 main types of probate estates in California. First is what's called the small estate. If the total estate value is under a certain threshold, and this can change over time, but it's generally in the range of the low to mid 100,000s, you may qualify for a simplified process. Most properties in Southern California are worth more than that on their own, so many families don't even qualify here. Next is what is called a formal probate. This is the full court supervised process most families go through when there's a home involved. There's also a sort of shortcut version called summary probate, but it only applies in some very specific situations. For most people watching this who've inherited a home in Ventura or LA County, you most always will be dealing with that full formal probate because of the high property values. Now let's talk about who does what. First, the executor or administrator. If there's a will, the will usually names an executor. If there's no will, the court appoints an administrator. This person is responsible for many things, such as filing court paperwork, keeping heirs updated, maintaining the property, paying bills, handling insurance, hiring a real estate agent, coordinating repairs. It's a lot that they have to manage. And most executors have no experience doing any of this, especially while they're grieving. I've worked with executors who felt completely overwhelmed because they didn't realize how much responsibility they were stepping into. Next is the attorney. An attorney guides the legal process and handles the court side of things, but they don't clean out the house, they don't coordinate contractors or prepare the home for sale. And some families are actually often surprised by that. And then there's the real estate agent. This is where I come in. I'm a senior real estate specialist who focuses on inherited homes in Ventura County and Los Angeles County. When there's a home in probate, my role becomes very hands-on. My team and I help to secure the property, coordinate clean-out crews, navigate probate rules, assist with insurance, preparing the home for sale, working with your attorney, and help to keep everyone calm and organized. And I'll tell you something personal. I always treat these homes differently. They're not just transactions. They're family history and memories and stories. As someone very close to my own family, I understand firsthand how heavy it feels when you're sorting through a parent's or a grandparent's home or walking through rooms filled with memories. Now, let's break down how probate actually works when there's a house involved step by step. First, you want to file a petition with the court. This officially begins the probate process. Next, the court will appoint the executor or the administrator. At that point, you have legal authority to act on behalf of the estate, but there are still limitations. Third, the property must be appraised. A court-appointed probate referee determines its value. This is different from a normal real estate appraisal. Next, notice to creditors go out. This gives anyone who's owned money by the estate a chance to come forward. And then fifth, decisions about selling the home. This is where a lot of families get stuck. You can't just decide to sell the home and put it on the market whenever you want. The court has to authorize it, and the type of authority matters. There are two main types of authority. First is the full authority under the Independent Administration of Estates Act, or IAEA. Next, there's limited authority. If you remember nothing else from this part, remember this. Full authority usually means more flexibility and fewer court trips. Limited authority usually means more approvals, more hearings, a slower, more rigid process. Step 6 of how probate works is to prepare the home for sale. This may include junk haul and cleaning, minor repairs, safety updates, some level of staging or light preparation, and securing the home, especially if it's vacant. The goal is not to make the house perfect or turn it into a flip. The goal is to make it safe, presentable, and marketable in a way that makes sense for a probate sale. The next step is going to be accept an offer and complete any required court steps. Some probate sales need a court confirmation hearing, but there are still many that don't. The next step of the probate process is to close and distribute funds. At closing, the court makes sure all debts, taxes, and fees are paid first. Then whatever remains is distributed to the heirs according to the will or state law. Next comes the moments where families usually pause, they worry, or they feel overwhelmed. The number one mistake they make is waiting too long to get help because they feel guilty or afraid of doing something wrong. Well, here's the gosh darn truth. You will move faster and feel far less emotional stress when you have professionals handling the parts you shouldn't be carrying alone. You don't need to clean out a house by yourself. We build a plan that works for your family. You don't need to become an expert in court forms, and you don't need to guess which repairs matter and which ones are a waste of money. We focus only on what's necessary for safety and presentation. That's exactly what my team and I are here for. Here are some common probate pitfalls I see and why they really do matter. Okay, first, delaying filing the petition. The longer you wait to file, the longer the estate stays frozen. This is usually why families say, I thought we would be done by now, and it's a year later. Second, letting the house sit vacant without proper insurance. Regular homeowners insurance can become void once a home is vacant and the owner has passed. I have seen claims denied because the insurance company found out the property was no longer owner occupied. Third, fighting with siblings instead of creating a plan. The longer there's no clear plan, the higher the chances the small disagreements turn into big, heavy, long-term conflicts. I often end up acting as a neutral third party to keep everyone on the same page. Next is spending money on the wrong repairs. Probate sales are different from traditional listings. You don't need to turn the property into a full remodel. Most probate buyers expect an as-is sale with some thoughtful targeted improvements. And then fifth, trying to sell off-market or quietly. Probate usually requires transparency and proper notice. Trying to do things under the radar can slow things down or even cause issues with the court. And then next, not understanding property tax consequences under Prop 19. Before you decide to keep, transfer, or sell the property, you need to understand how Prop 19 can affect the property tax bill. This alone can save or cost families tens of thousands of dollars over time. This is why having a specialist really matters. Probate is not just a process. It's usually happening at a time when everyone is already emotional and overwhelmed. I've sat with families who couldn't even step into the home right away, and others who needed to sort through decades of letters, photos, and belongings. My job is to guide you through the practical side while respecting the emotional side. Helping families through inherited homes is meaningful to me on a personal level as well, because I have experienced loss too, and I know how vulnerable this time can feel. So if you're in probate right now and you're wondering, what should you do next? Here are the steps I recommend. Confirm whether a trust exists. Many families aren't sure at first, and it's worth checking out. Identify who is likely to be the executor or administrator and start gathering important documents. Secure the property. Change the locks if needed. Review insurance and keep an eye on mail and utilities. Don't start big repairs yet. You need a plan that fits probate rules and your budget. Talk to someone who specializes in probate real estate. Even if you're not ready to sell, you can at least understand your options and your timeline. You don't have to figure this out alone. You don't need to become a probate expert overnight, and you definitely don't have to carry the emotional and logistical weight of this process by yourself. If you're dealing with an inherited home or probate and you want guidance, support, and trusted referrals to attorneys, estate planners, or contractors, I'd be honored to help. You can schedule a confidential call with me or a member of my team. The link is in the description below. I serve Ventura County, LA County, and surrounding areas directly. And I also have a nationwide referral network if you need help anywhere in the US. If this video was helpful, please share it with someone who needs to hear this. Maybe it's your parents, maybe it's a friend. Either way, pass it along, and I'll see you in the next video.